Okay, this is just a quick review of the Operation American Spring thing that, um, according to Washington Times, falls flat. This is very disappointing, Texans say. Now, in all due respect, I'm not really surprised, but the initial projections were for between 10 million and 3 million to come from around the nation and converge on the downtown capital city streets outside the White House and Capitol building. A number of the organizer of the event, Army Colonel Harry Riley, and we're going to get into him just a little bit in this video. This video ain't going to take long because I'm going to be putting together a few videos that's probably going to shock a lot of you, but it'll also validate the beast that rises up out of the earth, that has two horns like a lamb and speaks like a dragon. And this beast has been speaking like a dragon a lot earlier than we have probably have thought. Mr. Riley's reason for the event, as stated in previously published accounts, we are calling for their removal as a start toward constitutional restoration. Now, constitutional restoration. They have all abandoned the U.S. Constitution, or have they? Or the question is what Constitution? And you heard me right, what Constitution? Why do I say that? Well, in 1868, there was a constitutional rewrite. Alright? There was a constitutional rewrite. And this is where the 14th Amendment came in. July 28, 1868. On July 28, 1868, the 14th Amendment to the United States Constitution was ratified. Okay, this was not the organic Constitution that was installed in the 1780s. Okay, 1789, I believe, to be exact. All right. So really, the question is what is this Fourth Amendment? Well, real quick. The amendment grants citizenship to all persons born and naturalized in the United States, which included former slaves who had just been freed after the Civil War. I'm going to stop here because this is basically a mainstream write-up, but right here is really the key portion here. All right. Now, if you look at the all persons, this is around the same time frame that the definition of persons have changed. The definition of a person has changed around the same time frame. Here's the Black's Law Dictionary. Okay, and what is a person? It's any individual, branch, or corporation, group, agency, or virtually any organization or entity which has legal rights and duties that are distinguishable from those of other persons. So a person could be a corporation. When you look at this again, this doesn't have to include human beings. This could include corporations or agencies, like FBI, NSA, any of these things, in which this 14th Amendment, according to the corporate version of the Constitution, which is now in effect, is legal. Now, question is who is this Colonel Riley? Like I said, I'm just going over a quick overview here, just to raise some questions. And you have to ask yourself this question, and I'm going to link you to a radio program that I want you to listen to. And write down some notes and do some searches on any key words that you find that this guy mentions, and you're going to see stuff come up that is pretty legit. So this is a article out of Canada Free Press that is for this. The Constitutional Patriot launches Operation American Spring. Okay, so it goes on to explain it. Here's the bio. Who is the head of this Operation American Spring. Okay. Right off the bat, I'm just going to say that this guy was interviewed on this radio program okay, on Resurrect the Republic radio show, and he was asked the question, which Constitution are you going to be standing up for? And he goes into the aspect that, you know, the organic Constitution is different than what the Constitution that we have right now. Even though all the other amendments are relatively the same, but there was a 14th Amendment that totally erased the 13th Amendment, and that 13th Amendment has been, not really lost, but basically stored away. Hardly anybody knows about it. Okay? And for this guy to head such a movement, he was asking the question, well, which Constitution are you going to stand for? And Riley was like, well, I'm not qualified to answer this. I'm not qualified. I'm not a constitutional expert. But yet here is this guy going in to start a movement, which he says they're not going to leave D.C. until a reform happens. Now think back to the whole Arab Spring. Think back to the whole Egypt protest and these types of things. Okay, I mean it's pretty crazy. With all the stuff I've been reading before I put this little video up. So I'm going to link this article here. But now, who is Colonel Riley? Again, I just asked a question. This guy says he is not a constitutional expert. He doesn't understand the question in these types of things. He should know something about this since his credentials are pretty, well, I have to say, in higher ups. Okay. So, official retirement date, 1992, September. And Colonel Riley was commissioned second lieutenant, military intelligence. Okay, so military intelligence. But yet this guy doesn't know that there was a ratification or a convention called for in the late 1800s. In 1966, through infantry officer candidate school at Fort Benning. Okay. His assignments include executive officer and commander. These are all his military credentials. And he is also a recipient of the Silver Star. Alright, and also he was a division chief of the National Security Agency, or NSA. Ring a bell? Alright. So a lot of these people are all these patriotic people and these pro-Constitution people like Alex Jones and everything. You never hear them talk about this whole constitutional rewrite that happened. You never hear them talk about this 13th Amendment that was unlawfully abandoned after the Civil War. And I'm going to get into just a portion of this. What was this 14th Amendment? Okay, I'm just going to read these two paragraphs and I'm going to close. Okay. The controversial ratification to end military rule, restore civil government, and receive representation in Congress. The southern states finally ratified the 14th Amendment in 1868. The ratification took place almost literally at gunpoint. From federal occupation forces. By this time, many Northerners observing the process began recognizing the dangerous precedent that this type of coercion set. Consequently, many Northern states reconsidered their initial approvals of the amendment. New Jersey, Ohio, and Oregon all revoked their initial ratifications. These weren't Southern states. The New Jersey legislature warned that the amendment had been made vague for the purpose of facilitating encroachment on the lives, liberties, and property of the people. So this wasn't like Confederate versus Yankee. I mean, because there were northern states that were against this too. In Oregon, the vote to approve the amendment had taken place when the seats of two Republicans were being legally challenged. When it was determined that the seats had been won illegally, two Democrats replaced the Republicans and the amendment was rejected in the revote. Without these three northern states, the amendment would fall short of the three-fourths majority needed to become law. As a result, Secretary of State William Seward refused to allow the states' new vote against the amendment, even though he accepted the southern states' new vote in favor. Thus, although it was not properly ratified, the 14th Amendment was certified as part of the Constitution anyway, and that is the current Constitution that everyone is saying we need to go back to. So how does the amendment work today? Well, since its inception, the 14th Amendment has had the effect that its opponents had warned about. It has centralized power in the federal government by draining powers from the states that had once been guaranteed by the Bill of Rights. While intended to establish national citizenship and provide equal rights and protection, the amendment has undermined the federalist principle of local self-government envisioned by the founders, in the process removing a powerful check that states once had on federal power. Consequently, the 14th Amendment is partly responsible for the enormous size and scope of the federal government today. So, Obamacare is totally legal under this Constitution, under the 14th Amendment. NDAA, totally legal under this Constitution, under the 14th Amendment. So again, what is this American Spring all about? Is this just a psyop? Is this just a distraction? What Constitution is he supposedly standing for? And this Riley goes on to say that he doesn't know the difference. He's not a constitutional expert, and he's the leader of a movement. That's all I'm going to say on this right now. I'm working on more regarding this, because it's going to be an interesting series. I'm working on Monarchy of Israel and everything like that, but man, I guess I'm really learning how to multitask here, doing two things at once. But again, I'm going to post a link to this radio program here, and I want you to listen to this portion of it before I close. And listen carefully what the question is being asked to Riley here as he's being interviewed by this Tom Robert Lacovara Stewart.
The recent assignments. 84 to 86. 79 to 84. Staff officer for the Assistant Chief of Staff, Intelligence and Management Directorate, Office of the Chief of Staff of the Army, the Pentagon. 84 to 86, Division Chief, National Security Agency, Fort Meade, Maryland. 86 to 88, Commander, 712th Military Intelligence Battalion, Augsburg, Germany. 88-91, Division Chief, National Security Agency, Fort Meade, Maryland. 91-92, Deputy Office Chief, National Security Agency, Fort Meade, Maryland. Now, I want you guys to understand something when you hear the following audio.
Okay, so he just went over the credentials as part of what I just went over as well. So pay attention to the audio that he's going to play here.
Military intelligence, NSA. You wonder why things are going wrong? Military intelligence, NSA. Can you please roll that audio?
What constitution are we trying to reinstate, or are we abiding by? Does Operation American Spring stand for? And I do have another caller that wants to ask you a question. I will be adding him on in a couple of minutes.
Are you asking our Constitution? I'm not sure I understand your question, but
this is Riley talking right now.
What we're trying to do, basically, is we're trying to convince America to stand up and demand that we restore our Constitution that our founding fathers gave us and the principles that they gave us.
Colonel Riley.
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Tom. The question that I had was that, first of all, in 1868, 11 states delegates were forced out of the ratification process, the 14th Amendment, at gunpoint. At that point, Black's Law Dictionary, the words person and citizen were redefined as corporation. And that corporate reconstruction, President Johnson said, that would make the law itself unlawful and create a de facto government. It created a corporate version to form in a more efficient form of government, as they so
More
stated.
efficient than what?
The problem that I have and the question that I have for you, sir, is the Constitution that you're standing for when you go to Washington. Is it the organic Constitution, or is it that 14th Amendment jurisdiction, or do you stand against it?
No, you know.
All right, now pay attention. He just asked a question. Pay attention to what Riley says in his answer.
I'm certainly not a Constitution scholar.
Hear that?
I'll tell you that right off.
Wow.
But what I
You've never heard about this?
Well, I've heard about it, but I don't know I'm really not qualified to discuss
He heard about it, but he's not qualified to discuss this.
it to the point of
Not qualified.
I'm basically what we're trying to do is we're trying to put law, a consistent law back into the American government. Right now, we have to start somewhere.
Well, yes, sir. But my whole point is if you have an unlawful form of government, you see how these politicians have gotten away with so much, and they don't go to jail. They don't. Nothing ever happens to them. It's been my understanding that you received from RESURRECT the Republic a whole list of information that you agreed to add to your redress of grievances if they agreed to withdraw the negative publicity that they had first published. And
that was a
then
promise.
You never made good on that promise that you made right on the air on RESURRECT the Republic on RBN.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and close this video out. I'll post a link to this radio program below. And I also want to link you to another article, or a video rather, that is called the bonus army. What happened in history. Remember the old quotation, those who do not learn from history are doomed to repeat it. Very, very interesting things that I'm picking up just from this Operation American Spring. It is not what it's all cracked up to be. This whole thing with Anonymous and these types of things, folks, you start doing some critical thinking. Patriots included. Truth be told, truth be known, stay safe. God bless. See you next time. Bye-bye.